Hi, Lions. Thanks for joining me so we can continue our Read Aloud of Wonder. Before we pick up where we left off in the novel, let's go back to our plot diagram and see what we can fill out today. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Um, Sorry, someone was knocking at my office door. Okay, we were filling out the exposition. And if you remember, exposition is just a fancy way of saying the introduction to a story. And the setting, which is where and when a story takes place, is part of the exposition, as is the characters and climate or mood. So last time we filled out the setting. And we know that it's important. A lot of people forget the when the story takes place. So we talked about that last time. Now, the important thing you need to know about the characters is that there are major characters and minor characters. We're not going to list every single character in this novel. We would probably have, I would say, maybe like 25 characters that we could record if we did that. What we are going to do, and what a good reader can do, is they can sort between important information and information that's not so important. So we are going to figure out who the major characters are, and those are the really important characters in a story. The way I like to think about it is a major character is someone that if you remove them from the novel would completely change. For example, if Augie wasn't a character in a story, you wouldn't really have much of a story. Same thing with Via. Via is one of Augie's biggest champions and is really there for Augie all the time, except for in the last couple chapters we just read. But they did make up, so that's good. So we are going to go back and remember the exposition is typically within the first few chapters. So we're going to go back and think about who are the characters that have been introduced in this novel. And obviously, Augie is one of the characters, and he is, I would say, the lead main character. And we'll put in parentheses August Pullman. So, because he's referred as Augie and August all throughout the novel. Obviously, his sister Via, she was another really critical, major character in this novel, as are his parents. So, we'll say mom. And let me zoom in, guys, so you can see this even better. Okay, now I just need to scroll down and over. There we go. And I want to be specific because if I just say mom, someone might be wondering, well, who's mom? So we'll say Mrs. Pullman. And dad, Mr. Pullman. And let's think about this. In the very beginning is when Augie went on the tour of the school. And Mr. Tushman and I believe it was Mrs. Petosa, they were there. But think about it. Do they play a really critical role? If we were to remove them from the novel, would we still have a very similar story? And we would. We still would have the conflict between Augie and Julian and Augie and Jack. So they really aren't major characters in this novel. They're minor characters. So we're not going to include them on our list of characters in the exposition. We will also add, remember there were 3 of his students that met him there for the tour, and it was Charlotte, Julian, and Jack. Now, when I think about those 3 characters, Charlotte, she's really not that critical. I mean, she played a role in it, but if we remove Charlotte from the novel, we would still have the same story. But Julian, he absolutely is a major character because, as we learned, he's the antagonist in this story, whereas Augie is the protagonist. So Julian is critical. Jack, who also met Augie to take him on the tour, is critical to the novel as well, because Jack became one of his good friends. We know that there was a problem between the two that then thankfully got resolved eventually. Another character who is really important, and I believe is a major character, is Summer. If you recall, Summer was the student that was the only one to sit with Augie in the cafeteria. And because of Summer, she gave the clue to Jack, so they were able to repair the relationship and become friends again. So if Summer were to be removed from the novel, Jack and Augie may not have made up again, and the story would be completely different. So Summer does play a critical role in this novel. I would say Daisy is also a critical or major character in the novel Augie, because Daisy loved Augie unconditionally. He felt very comfortable and didn't feel judged by her. And then, as we sadly just read in the past couple of chapters, she did actually pass away because she was really ill. And because of that, because that happened, it helped Augie and Via to repair the relationship. So she really does play a critical role in this text as well. I'm also going to add Justin as a major character. If you recall, Justin is Via's boyfriend. And because of Justin, remember, he said something to Julian and the two other boys who were with Julian at the store when they were bullying Jack. And because he did that, and basically said, hey, you need to leave Jack alone and don't mess around with him. Julian and his other friends, they stopped trying to put pressure on Jack to no longer be friends with Augie. So Justin did play a pretty major role. When I think about some of the other characters like Miles and Amos, at this point, they really don't play a huge role. If they were removed from the story, we would still have the main problems, and the conflict so far that has happened would be resolved in the same manner. So at this point, I believe we have all of our major characters listed. Of course, we said there were many other characters throughout the novel, but at this point, they haven't played a major role. Perhaps as we continue reading, we might have some more major characters we want to add. So for now, we'll just leave it at that. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about the climate or mood, which is the third part of the exposition of a novel. Okay, let's go ahead and pick up from where we left off. We, just to summarize what we had read in the last part, remember Augie found out that Via hadn't told her parents about the play that she was going to be a part of because she did not want Augie to come to her school. She didn't. It was the first time people didn't know that she had a brother who had these extreme challenges, and she was nervous about him coming to the school and people finding out. And so obviously Augie was just devastated and crushed by that, which very understandably. Via felt awful that she felt that way. But then because Daisy had to go to the vet and she actually passed away, that helped repair the relationship between Augie and Via because it made them realize what was important and it helped them to put aside their differences. And they realized how much they needed each other and they loved each other because of what happened to their beloved family member, their dog, Daisy, that passed away. All right, the chapter we're picking up on is called Understudy. Remember, an understudy, that's what Via is. She is kind of like the backup person for Miranda in the school play. That's what an understudy is. Okay, let's go ahead and start reading. Via brought home 3 tickets to her school play a few days after Daisy died. We never mentioned the fight we had over dinner again. On the night of the play, right before she and Justin were leaving to get to their school early, she gave me a big hug and told me she loved me and she was proud to be my sister. This was my first time in Via's new school. It was much bigger than her old school and 1,000 times bigger than my school. More hallways, more room for people. The only really bad thing about my bionic Lobot hearing aids was the fact that I couldn't wear a baseball cap anymore. In situations like these, baseball caps come in really handy. Sometimes I wish I could still get away with wearing that old astronaut helmet I used to wear when I was little. Believe it or not, people would think seeing a kid in an astronaut helmet was a lot less weird than seeing my face. Anyway, I kept my head down as I walked right behind Mom through the long, bright hallways. We followed the crowd to the auditorium, where students handed out programs at the front entrance. We found seats in the 5th row, close to the middle. As soon as we sat down, Mom started looking inside her pocketbook. "I can't believe I forgot my glasses," she said. Dad shook his head. Mom was always forgetting her glasses, or her keys, or something else. She is flaky that way. "You want to move closer?" said Dad. Mom squinted at the stage. "No, I think I can see okay." "Speak now or forever hold your peace," said Dad. "I'm fine," answered Mom. "Look, there's Justin," I said to Dad, pointing out Justin's picture in the program. "That's a nice picture of him," he answered, nodding. "How come there's no picture of Via?" I said. "She's an understudy," said Mom. "But look, here's her name." "Why did they call her an understudy?" I asked. "Wow, look at Miranda's picture," said Mom to Dad. I don't think I would have recognized her." "Why do they call it an understudy?" I repeated. "It's what they call someone who replaces an actor if he can't perform for some reason," answered Mom. "Did you hear Martin's getting remarried?" Dad said to Mom. "Are you kidding me?" Mom answered, like she was surprised. "Who's Martin?" I asked. "Miranda's father," Mom answered, and then to Dad, "Who told you?" "I ran into Miranda's mother in the subway. She's not happy about it. He has a new baby on the way and everything." "Wow," said Mom, shaking her head. "What are you guys talking about?" I said. "Nothing," answered Dad. "Well, why do they call it understudy?" I said. "I don't know, Augie Doggy," Dad answered. "Maybe because the actors kind of study under the main actors or something. I really don't know." I was going to say something else, but then the lights went down. The audience got very, very quiet very quickly. "Daddy, can you please not call me Augie Doggy anymore?" I whispered in Dad's ear. Dad smiled and nodded and gave me a thumbs up. The play started. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. The curtain opened. The stage was completely empty except for Justin, who was sitting on an old rickety chair tuning his fiddle. He was wearing an old-fashioned type of suit and a straw hat. "This play is called Our Town," he said to the audience. "It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Philip Davenport. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line, latitude 40 degrees, longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7, 1901. The time is just before dawn." Hey guys, did you notice that? So Justin is introducing the play, which happens to be the exposition of the play. He told where it took place, which was in Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. He also told when it took place, May 7th, 1901. And so he's introducing the play. Same thing when you're reading a novel or a story, there's going to be an introduction to it. And that is called the exposition. So pretty cool that we're talking about the exposition of the novel. And Justin just gave an exposition of the play for everyone in the audience. The reason why you need that is because you need a little introduction so that you kind of have something to hook all the information to. Okay, let's keep going. I knew right then and there that I was going to like this play. It wasn't like the other plays I've been to, The Wizard of Oz or Cloudy of Chance of Meatballs. No, this was grown up seeming, and I felt smart sitting there and watching it. A little later in the play, a character named Mrs. Webb calls out for her daughter Emily. I knew from the program that that was the part Miranda was playing, so I leaned forward to get a better look at her. Now, because remember, Miranda used to be best friends with Via, and so she was always really kind to Augie. "That's Miranda," Mom whispered to me, squinting at the stage when Emily walked out. "She looks so different." "It's not Miranda," I whispered. "It's Via." "Oh my gosh," said Mom, lurching forward in her seat. "Shh," said Dad. "It's Via," Mom whispered to him. "I know," whispered Dad, smiling. "Shh." Wow, that's pretty cool. So Via, she was supposed to be the understudy, and now she came out in that lead role. Okay, the next chapter is called The Ending. The play was so amazing. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's the kind of ending that makes people in the audience teary. Mom totally lost it when Via, as Emily said, "Goodbye, goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers, and food and coffee, and new iron dresses, and hot baths, and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too beautiful for anybody to realize you." Via was actually crying while she was saying this, like real tears. I could see them rolling down her cheeks. It was totally awesome. After the curtain closed, everyone in the audience started clapping. Then the characters came out one by one. Via and Justin were the last ones out. And when they appeared, the whole audience rose to their feet. "Bravo!" I heard Dad yelling through his hands. "Why is everyone getting up?" I said. "It's a standing ovation," said Mom, getting up. So I got up and clapped and clapped. Oh my gosh, I have chills. What a great moment for Via and Justin. I clapped until my hands hurt. For a second, I imagined how cool it would be to be Via and Justin right then, having all these people standing up and cheering for them. I think there should be a rule that everyone in the world should get a standing ovation at least once in their lives. Finally, after I don't know how many minutes, the line of actors on stage stepped back and the curtain closed in front of them. The clapping stopped and the lights went up and the audience started to get up to leave. Me and Mom and Dad made our way to the backstage. Crowds of people were congratulating the performers, surrounding them, patting them on the back. We saw Via and Justin at the center of the crowd, smiling at everyone, laughing and talking. "Via!" shouted Dad, waving as he made his way through the crowd. When he got close enough, he hugged her and lifted her off the floor a little. "You were amazing, sweetheart." "Oh my gosh, Via," said Mom, screaming with excitement. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. She was hugging Via so hard, I thought Via would suffocate, but Via was laughing. "You were brilliant," said Dad. "Brilliant," Mom said, kind of nodding and shaking her head at the same time. "And you, Justin," said Dad, shaking Justin's hand and giving him a hug at the same time. "You were fantastic." "Fantastic," Mom repeated. She was, honestly, so emotional she could barely talk. was shocked to see you up there, Via, said Dad. Mom didn't even recognize you at first, I said. I didn't recognize you, said Mom, her hand over her mouth. Miranda got sick right before the show started, said Via, all out of breath. There wasn't even time to make an announcement. I have to say, she looked kind of strange because she was wearing all this makeup, and I've never seen her look like this before. And you just stepped in there right at the last minute, said Dad? Wow. She was amazing, wasn't she, said Justin, his arm around Via. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, said Dad. Is Miranda okay, I said, but no one heard me. At that moment, a man who I think was their teacher came over to Justin and Via, clapping his hands. Bravo, bravo, Olivia and Justin. He kissed Via on both cheeks. I flubbed a couple of lines, said Via, shaking her head. But you got through it, said the man, smiling ear to ear. Mr. Davenport, these are my parents, said Via. You must be so proud of your girl, he said, shaking their hands with both of his hands. We are. And this is my little brother, August, said Via. He looked like he was about to say something, but suddenly froze when he looked at me. Mr. D, said Justin, pulling him by the arm, come meet my mom. Via was about to say something to me, but then someone else came over and started talking to her, and before I knew it, I was kind of alone in the crowd. I mean, I knew where Mom and Dad were, but there were so many people all around us, and people kept bumping into me, spinning me around a bit, giving me that 1-2 look, which made me feel kind of bad. I don't know. It was because I was feeling hot or something, but I kind of started getting dizzy. People's faces were blurring in my head, and their voices were so loud it was almost hurting my ears. I tried to turn on the volume on my low-body ears, but I got confused and turned them louder at first, which kind of shocked me. And then I looked up, and I didn't see Mom or Dad or Via anywhere. Via, I yelled out. I started pushing through the crowd to find Mom. Mommy! I really couldn't see anything but people's stomachs and thighs all around me. Mommy! Suddenly, someone picked me up from behind. Look who's here, said a familiar voice, hugging me tight. I thought it was Via at first, but then I turned around. I was completely surprised. Hey, Major Tom, she said. Miranda, I answered, and I gave her the tightest hug I could give. Wow, part 7 is the next part, and it's titled Miranda. So it looks or seems as if, I'm going to make a prediction here, we're going to start hearing the novel from Miranda's point of view. So first person narrative has been the pattern all throughout the story. So I'm really anxious to see what part 7 might be about. And the chapter that we're going to read is Camp Lies. So we'll pick up from tomorrow, and we will fill out the climate and mood tomorrow, right before we get started and picking up with our read aloud. Don't forget, exposition is a fancy word that means the introduction to the novel, where you get some background knowledge so that you're going to be able to understand the rest of the story. And it includes the setting, that's where and when the story takes place, and the characters. And we paid attention to the major characters. The major characters are the people in this story that if you were to remove them, the entire story would change, because there are major characters and minor characters. And a good reader is able to determine what is important and what is not important when they're reading. All right, tomorrow we'll pick up with climate and mood. I can't wait to see you then. Bye, Lions.